Hi, I'm Jonathan Weinberg, and this is Drawing with Fountain Pens. I am recording this on November 7th, 2025, which is the Fountain Pen Day, the annual Fountain Pen Day. So in honor of that, I am going to talk about a pen that on many levels is new to me. This is the first Montegrappa pen that I've ever gotten. If people follow my channel religiously, they will recognize that I got it in a surprise package, I guess, that I got at the DC Pen Show from Kenro. They had a mystery packages that you could get, and this was one of the pens that was in the $300 box that supposedly had pens and other things that together were worth $1,000. And it is quite actually, this tiny pen is actually lists for something like around $400. So it is expensive. Montegrappa Pens, Italian manufacturer of luxury goods, their pens and other items are quite expensive. The Montegrappa, a pen company, goes all the way back to 1912. It is their pens and other goods are manufactured in the Veneto part of Italy, and of course the name Montegrappa means Mount Grappa, so they're named after the mountain that is near where they are located. This pen actually, as a pocket pen, it seems to me to be the smallest pocket pen, at least that I own. I put it next to the Kaweco Lilliput pen and the Sport pen, and it is in fact smaller. The Lilliput pen is more narrow, but it is a little longer, and it is kind of magical the way in which the pen converts into a pretty much full-size pen. This is in a way more mysterious than other pocket pens, because at first when I looked at it, I really had a hard time trying to figure out how even to take it apart. Another nice thing about Montegrappa is that they not only make their own pens, but they make their own nibs. And so they have this distinguished history. And I was very pleased, actually, in how nicely this pen writes. The pen is called the Gnomo Obsession. Gnome, just like one of those garden gnomes. The idea, I guess, being that it is so small and yet so beautiful, which is the obsession part. And it comes in this really beautiful packaging. It says Montegrappa, but then it's in this beautiful little wooden box. And you open this up, and inside is this little sort of pajamas for the pen, and out it pops. Here's the pen itself. It comes with some below this part is some cartridges, and I think there was, I don't know where it is, but there was a little description of the pens. This is very pretty. I mean, some people don't care that much about boxes, because what do you do with the box? You put it away and you don't see it. But anyway, I sort of was delighted by this, and I think again it's a very beautiful pen. On their website, they have very elaborate pictures of people using the pen, and they also talk about it being like a lipstick, looking something like a lipstick, which I think is true. So how do you open this thing? And it actually is quite mysterious, and it took me a bit of a while to even figure out how to open it. But what happens here is on one side you turn it and it opens up like that. Okay, and then to fill the pen, it uses so-called international style cartridges. There's one in there. When I say so-called, one finds that really European standard size cartridges, the kind of cartridges that Pelican makes, work best, I find, in this pen. In this case, I actually have filled a blank cartridge with a favorite color of mine by Pilot's Yama Budo because it matches so perfectly the color of the pen. Anyway, fit that in, and then you screw the back. And then this goes into here. Now, the disadvantages of that is if you're writing with the pen and you suddenly have to go to the bathroom or get a telephone call, you have to unscrew this, which takes quite a lot of screwing, and put it back in, and then take it out again. So that is, a lot of pocket pens have that disadvantage. The Kaweco Sport actually slips on and off in the back, so it's a little faster in terms of getting the top back on. So that's something to keep in mind if you're the type of person who takes notes and then, wants to close the pen and then open it up again. If you're at a meeting, that's sometimes an issue. I think clearly this is a pen that is meant to appeal to women when they talk about it being lipstick, and on their website they have a picture of somebody holding the pen and their hands going around the neck of a seemingly handsome man. You can't see his face. There is that idea, I think, that this is more almost like a piece of jewelry that you keep in your pocketbook. But I also think that it's kind of non-gendered. I like it. And so that's an interesting aspect of the pen. And I kind of like the mysteriousness of it, that you can't really tell that it is a fountain pen at all when it's closed up. It in some ways looks like something that is vintage and goes back to some of the earlier pen designs in the 20th century. Particularly because vintage pens tended to be smaller than they are now. You can see the logo here. This part of the pen is resin, as they like to say, or plastic. This part of the pen is metal. If you want to use your own color, this is always an issue with cartridge pens. Then you have to get, as I did, with a hypodermic needle, or a needle that is specially made for fountain pens. You don't want to use kind of needle that you use that you can prick your finger, that they use for medical purposes, but a needle that you can then feed the ink into the cartridges. I tend to wear a glove when I do that because it's a little tricky not to get messy. But it works fine when you do that, and that's a way to get your own color into the pen, or whatever ink color that you want to get. And of course, cartridges come in all different kinds of colors too. But so that's another disadvantage, that the pen like this doesn't use a converter. I even tried to put in the Kaweco's new converter that bends, that it's made for portable. Their portable Lilliput will fit even the Lilliput, but it actually doesn't fit into this pen. It's too small. Or at least I couldn't get it to fit and really work. Here's another thing about the pen. It doesn't have a roll stop, and it doesn't have a clip to the front of your shirt. And on a table, it's going to have a tendency to roll. So it's another disadvantage. There it goes, rolling. This is the stub nib, and it is very nice. A lot of stub nibs often are very scratchy. This has a little bit of feedback. You can hear it, but it's very pleasant. And you can get thin line, very thick line. It does reverse writing. Oh, it does reverse writing pretty well. A little skipping. I don't usually reverse write it anyway. Anyway, it's very nice, and it feels very nice in the hand. So this is the Gnome Obsession. And this is Budo ink, which I have fed into a standard or kind of European/international cartridge. You can get those blank cartridges, or once you've used up a cartridge, you can clean it out and put your own ink into it. It works very well. This is rhodia paper. And it is a 1.1 stub nib. You can see when I go up and down, it's thick. When I go this way, it is thin. So you get some line variation. This means that it gives your this means that your handwriting gets a little bit more interesting when you use a stub nib. And as I was saying before, it has quite a lot of feedback, but it actually is very pleasant and relatively smooth for a stub nib. So I really like that. And it's surprisingly comfortable, even though the shape is kind of odd. I mean, in the end, what's interesting about this pen is that it looks much better closed than it does when it's a pen. And that's not true necessarily of other pocket pens. It depends on the pen. But anyway, I kind of enjoy this. I enjoy this pen. I'm not quite sure, though, it's worth $400. It has a steel nib, not a gold nib. And I would say for that price, it should have a 14-karat gold nib. But nevertheless, I didn't pay anything like that. And so I'm pleased with it.